Okay, so you might be wondering why I have this thing open. And to tell you the truth, I don't have any videos planned. Yep, I am having idea block. I don't have any good ideas for videos. Mostly because I don't want to do like another discussion video of Five Nights at Freddy's, if I'm being honest. So I'm just gonna be reacting to this Iceberg video. Why? Because I got nothing else better to do. That's why. So let's begin.
Chances are you've probably heard of analog horror.
I'm checking this. Hopefully this is capturing my stuff and I'm recording. If not, that would be so embarrassing. This isn't gonna be like a live recording. This is just gonna be more like, I mean, I guess technically it is live, but it's just me simply recording, and that's that. Now, just to make it be faster, I'm just gonna put this in 1.25. I'm also gonna put it in this low quality because I don't know. Sometimes YouTube likes to not. I'll up into 1080.
Chances are you've probably heard of analog horror, or even have seen it somewhere here on YouTube.
I
Because
have.
over the last few years, this type of internet storytelling has absolutely exploded on this platform. And there
Yeah.
are so many different analog horror videos and many projects that have been inspired by these series. You have the
Yep.
classic well-known ones such as Local 58 and The Walton Files, but there are so many obscure series out there that only the really diehard fans of this storytelling genre even know about. But what is
Yeah.
analog horror? Well, it's kind of a broad genre at this point, but what it really boils down to is nostalgic horror, typically done through found grainy footage or old VHS tapes,
Yeah.
stylized to look like it came from a piece of analog media, which really creates a certain atmosphere that is unique to this genre. So, in this video, in this supercut, we're going to break down the analog horror iceberg. Of course, this will be a compilation of the other videos in this series, but with added bonus entries in each tier, most of which I got from the comments on the last analog horror video, so shout out to you guys. So without further ado, let's jump into the analog horror iceberg.
Okay. Let's begin. I know what these are.
Gemini Home
Okay, I
Entertainment.
don't know what this one is.
Starting off here, we have one of the earliest and easily one of the most popular analog horror series, and for very good
Earliest
reason.
and
It was
easiest.
created in 2019 by
Okay. Should I react to like the ultimate creepypasta iceberg video next time? Because oh boy, that's gonna be like an 11-hour long video if that's the case. I would definitely help myself to the challenge, but the problem with that, I mean, I could just like be like each tier. I can like relax, take a break of each tier, if that makes sense. No, it doesn't. I don't know. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some like some water and maybe some snacks to eat on during this. Okay, so I may not be able to find snacks, but I have water with me, so I'm fine. Now I'm gonna turn on the lights. Mm. Okay, let's begin.
Emmy abode, and it's told through various tapes created by the company Gemini Home Entertainment, which consist of a variety of different things throughout the various episodes, such as mini documentaries, safety videos, and even just home video recordings, all of which in some way relate to a certain entity, an eldritch and cosmic abomination known as the Iris. In
Oh
the first
no,
episode, World's Weirdest Animals, we are first introduced to many animals local to Minnesota. And at about halfway through, we are given our first introduction to the woodcrawlers, an alien species invading Earth that take over the bodies of humans and use their homes as nests. Throughout the videos, we learn a little bit more about the woodcrawlers and what's really going on here, as we
I
start to learn
see.
about the anomaly of the Iris, seemingly a planet and homeworld of the woodcrawlers. There's also this video game shown called Lethal
Interesting.
Omen, which is a real game, by the way. You can download and play it right now. And through this game, as well as the other episodes, a lot more of the lore surrounding this invasion of Earth and how humans are being infected is revealed. Because it's through this sort of infection, something called the deep root disease, spread by these things called gardeners, which then turns those people into woodcrawlers. And there's quite a bit more to this, but I won't go through everything. But there's a bunch of videos on YouTube deep diving into this one series.
I think you mean Nikki moves. Okay, yeah. I know. Okay, so yep, called it. You mean Nikki, because keep in mind I have the videos sped up because I have to sit like for an hour and a half watching this. At that point, I might as well just be reacting to an actual movie. But I'm willing to do this because why not? I'll link the actual video in the description once I upload the footage.
For multiple hours. Those were really just the basics. If you haven't seen it yet, give it a watch if it sounds interesting. It is very well made and is definitely one of the most polished series out there in terms of editing and overall production value.
Okay, just quickly checking something. Local
Local
50.
58.
Oh, yeah, I know about that one.
Most people would consider this one of the earliest analog horror series, and what inspired many mainstays of the genre, such as the aforementioned Gemini Home Entertainment, as well as the Analog
Okay.
Archives and a lot of other ones on this list, directly or indirectly. Also, very interestingly, this series is actually tied to the Candle Cove creepypasta, and is created by the same guy, Chris Straub, with this series depicting the
Oh,
fictional channel Local 58, which is where the show Candle Cove appears on in that story. But what
that's
is Local
nice.
58? Well, it's presented as found footage of a public access TV channel called Local 58 that is located in Mason County, Virginia. However, as we see throughout the series, this station is hijacked multiple times, and many strange messages and videos are played, such as in the first episode, You Are
That's
on
a
the
skill
Fastest
issue.
Available Route, which shows something of an alien creature, which many believe are responsible for the alien invasion, similar to Gemini Home Entertainment.
I
The most
see.
disturbing and infamous video is episode 2, Contingency, which plays a message on the station from the American government, in which its citizens are told that they have lost
I might do a recording of me reacting to like Local 58 because I never really properly watch it. And as much as I know I'm probably gonna get spoiled by it, I might forget about the spoilers to be honest. Yeah, okay.
a war. And in order to maintain their American dignity, they must themselves and their families. Pretty dark stuff,
Yeah.
but definitely a great series. Pescop.
Pescop. I am also aware of that one.
Now, if you can consider this analog horror, this is one of the coolest analog horror series ever made, and it's told through a series of YouTube videos that are kind of like Let's Plays of a fictional
Yeah.
PlayStation game called Petscop, which is all being uploaded by the main character named Paul, who throughout his time playing this game finds a strange and creepy hidden area called the Newmaker Plane, which reveals a dark and disturbing story of true events, at least in
Yep.
universe. And I don't want to say too much more and give anything away. This is truly an incredible horror series. Whether you consider it analog horror, a horror anthology, or just a creepypasta. It's amazing. Go check it out if you haven't seen it yet.
It's all the above.
The Walton Files. Again, we have another super famous one, The Walton Files. This is one of many analog horror series inspired by Five Nights at Freddy's. This is
Yeah.
probably the most well-known of them all. The series
You know, okay, actually, why am put animatronics with burger places? I know Five Nights at Candy's did it, and even then, looking back, it seemed kind of random. Like, okay, in concept, it does somewhat make sense if you consider Ronald McDonald and Burger King, but the more you think about it, the more you realize, was there even a Ronald McDonald animatronic at McDonald's? Like, I don't know. I feel like it could have been easier to just put like pizza place or something. Like, I don't think people would be too upset about it or be confused about the decision of burgers, but that's probably just me.
was created in 2020 by Martin Walls and consists of a series of VHS tapes surrounding a restaurant called Bond's Burgers, created by
Yeah.
a company called Bunny Smiles Incorporated, which was founded by Jack Walton and Felix Kranken in the 1960s. The series itself starts with an introductory tape that
It's always fun and funny that both Candy and the Walton Files both have locations or companies that were open in the freaking 1960s. To say they're earlier than Freddy Fazbear's in universe, I would say. Which is ironic because if the poster of that thing is anything to go by, Freddy is still earlier in Security Breach, which is funny to me. I just want to say the Stillwell games are non-canon, which a fair point. The Stillwell games have connection to Tales of the Pizzaplex, which I actually would not believe would be canon unless it's either confirmed or those books appears as scans in the game, like Sonic Mega Collection had the Archie comics or some of the comics. I mean, those comics aren't confirmed to be canon, but you know what I mean.
is made for new employees, specifically
Yeah.
facility caretakers, who are hired to maintain and repair the animatronics. We also see in this video that it's not just an introductory tape, but rather this video is a compilation of tapes spliced together,
Yep.
including found recordings and other disturbing imagery and animations. What follows is a story very similar to that of Five Nights at Freddy's, involving the presumed death of one of the founders who ends up possessing one of the mascots, that being
I mean, technically speaking, that's correct, but yes, technically it's correct. I mean, it's more so loosely, I would say.
Bon Bunny, as well as many others dying and being stuffed into the animatronic suits, and further possessing those animatronics, before the restaurant is eventually shut down and abandoned, not long after it first opened.
Yeah.
There's not too much else to say here for the basics. There's literal icebergs dedicated to this series if you want a deeper dive, but
Oh, that's interesting. I might check these out, although I'm a little concerned that's 1 is 35 minutes, 1 is 14. Okay, I guess they kind of skip.
for now, just know it's a really well-made analog horror experience.
Okay.
The
Oh,
Mandela Catalog.
I'm aware of that one.
Created by Alex Kister in 2021, this analog horror series revolves around the idea that shapeshifting demons known as alternates have made their way to Earth and are killing humans, and are also taking on their physical forms to blend in with society. This is all
Yeah.
displayed through a public service announcement about these entities in the first volume of the catalog. And throughout the series, we are also introduced to characters involved with the alternates, and are shown pieces of found footage from their encounters. This
Yeah.
series also has some really great animation and CGI, and is just well made overall, like a lot on this list. But also really interestingly, this series explores a more religious story, as shown in the many references throughout, as well as very overtly in the first episode of the series, Overthrown, which is a really unsettling watch, to say the least.
Okay.
YouTube cut this content.
What?
So yeah, how could I not talk about this? As not only is it something that happened pretty recently, but it's also basically an analog horror project created by Markiplier himself, as well as a few other creators. And it was a part of a YouTube livestream called Game On, which featured several creators, including himself, and in his segment, he included this interactive analog horror experience. Although, unfortunately, for whatever reason, YouTube cut out this part of his segment, and so Markiplier just had to upload it to his channel, and he named it YouTube Cut This Content, the Absolute Madman. And it is still a playable interactive experience where you can make choices leading to other unlisted videos, which will eventually lead you to a good or bad ending, and although it is really cool and well made, this would have been so much cooler and more immersive if it happened during the actual livestream.
Yeah. The
The
back?
backrooms.
I know about that.
Oh boy, so what can be said about the backrooms that hasn't been said already? I mean, this thing completely blew up over the last few years, and all of this supposedly originated from a 4chan post in 2019 attached to this now infamous image. Now there's full-blown lore written for just about every aspect of it that you could think of. It's like a new generation of SCP. And in
Yeah.
regards to analog horror, there are quite a few adaptations and videos by many different creators. Although, probably the most famous example would be the Backrooms found footage created by Kane Pixels, which is
The
a really
back
well-made video that,
rooms.
at the time of making this Iceberg, has amassed a whopping 35 million views. And he
I
has
watched
since gone
that
on to
one.
make many more videos in this Backroom series on his channel. If you somehow haven't heard this before, I'll give you a quick rundown on the lore. Basically, sometimes people randomly no-clip through reality,
Yeah.
and end up in a different place, the Backrooms. Think something like Gmod, where your player character no longer collides with the world, and falls into an abyss. Down here in the backrooms, there are many different entities that exist and will hunt those who are trapped here. But not
Yep.
only that, there are also many different levels to the backrooms. So many in fact that people have dedicated videos to explaining 100 levels of it. Yeah, the lore in the
Makes
backrooms goes
sense.
really deep. But I think Kane Pixels series is a really good gateway into the backrooms. It's a standalone series that you can appreciate without having to know all the details. Check it out if you're interested.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that. My favorite. Sorry, family downstairs. Now let's continue.
Agamemnon counterpart.
Oh, I think I've seen that video.
Now, I'm sure a lot of you know about this because this one is really old. I mean, this video was released in 2006. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, it does kind of fit in the definition of analog horror, even if it's only one short video and not really a full series. Even still, people have been talking about this video since its release and still do to this day. So,
isn't
what
that?
makes Agamemnon counterparts so interesting? Well, now the best part is, if you look at the comments, this thing went from terrifying in 2006 to basically a meme in the modern day. Also, I guess this
Honestly, I think I've seen a couple few videos I mentioned this series that I'm kind of so used to seeing this clip.
is technically the first real analog horror video, at least as far as I know. But what's going on here? Well, it's kind of incomprehensible, to be honest, as you just witnessed. We see text that reads, quote, "In the year 2571, a video cassette tape was found in a pile of rubble on the ruins of a certain blue planet. What
Yeah.
you are about to witness will not be the contents of the aforementioned cassette. This is an entirely different recording." So that was
Yeah,
nothing. Then we see this fever dream of a video, which means nothing, I'm pretty sure at least. But it's definitely a classic video, and it's
it
one of,
is.
if not the first analog horror video on YouTube, so you gotta give it credit for that at least.
No, I don't. I'm joking.
Andy's Apple Farm.
Oh, I know about that one.
This is another retro style analog horror type of game, which was created in 2021 by
Yeah,
M36 Games. And yeah, this one is pretty popular. But basically, the way the game works is that you play as Andy the Apple, and you do some mini games with the other characters around the farm, before you start to unravel the secrets of the game's developer, Thomas Eastwood, and encounter a mysterious entity known as, well, the Entity, who terrorizes Thomas's whole family and later on this game.
like a Chad.
Analog Archives. Created by Aiden Chick, who also made another analog horror series, Eventide Media Center, this anthology, known as Analog Archives, consists of
Yeah,
a series of videotapes from various cities across the United States, such as Pennsylvania, New Jersey, North Carolina, etc. However, every tape is pretty different. One is an instructional tape, another a news broadcast, security footage, a recording of an old N64 game, you get the idea. The thing with these tapes is that all of them contain some strange and unnerving content. For example, in episode 1, we see an instructional video on how to properly use a television set. However, in the video, it describes how TV signals can be hijacked, and disturbing and harmful imagery can be displayed, and it tells the viewer that if this is encountered, you must turn your TV off immediately, otherwise there can be serious health consequences, including death. And I think what I really like about Analog Archives is a lot of it doesn't have to do with disturbing imagery necessarily. A lot of it just comes from the unsettling text displayed along with the eerie editing style. And I quite like
I
that more
see.
low-key kind of horror. It's honestly a lot more, I guess, realistic or genuine in a way. And it really creates a kind of unique feeling.
I see.
CHSS. This has been described by some as the first true analog horror series on YouTube, or at least
Is
one of the
it?
earliest, as the first episode aired in January of 2016. So, what is CHSS? Well, its narrative is told through a series of strange advertisements and other supplemental media and archives, which are related
Yeah,
to a channel called CHSS. And it seems CHSS is actually funded by the US government through a program known as the Psychological Survey Initiative, which is described in a video as a way of evaluating the mental health of US citizens. Throughout the
I
videos,
see.
we also
Hmm. Okay, still recording.
also see the psychological tests, which are done through listening to loud tones and looking at sequences of specific colors.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put it down because I think this has been
Colors.
freezing a
We're
bit.
also given tips on mental health, as well as even shown the pharmaceuticals that are used for treatments. But there's a lot
Yeah,
more going on here, such as the account of one of those people treated by CHSS, as well as some strange splicing of World War II footage that is present in the tapes. But I'll leave the rest of the exploring of this series up to you.
okay.
Ches Kids Archive. This is a really cool one, as this series
Oh,
focuses on a defunct website from the early 2000s that has some lost media, which the creator of the channel, Ches Kids Archive, is trying to find and upload to the channel, which is honestly just a really cool and authentic way to tell the story, I think. Anyway, the website contains some of those really old school Flash games, which in the
yeah.
beginning are kind of just the type of low quality game you'd expect from a early 2000s website, but slowly it begins to get more and more disturbing as the true story of the Ches Kids founder, Sarah, begins to unfold. And I really like this one. It's pretty
Interesting.
underrated and has its own kind of vibe. I've never really seen another series done like this. Ekva. This is yet another one of the earliest analog horror series, which also debuted in 2016, and is actually
Oh,
kind of a spiritual successor to Marble Hornets and Clear Lakes 44, and was created by Troy Wagner. Throughout the many
I
videos on the
see.
channel known as EkvaNet, we learn about the network EkVA, which actually ends up being hijacked by a person known simply as the Broadcaster. The tapes are also
Oh,
being investigated by an individual known as S. Hawkins, who leaves notes regarding the various strange things found in the EkVA tapes. And as S. Hawkins continues to investigate EkVA, we learn more about the company, which he also interviewed for when the
okay.
company was still active. And
Interesting.
S. Hawkins reveals that the network is still being broadcasted, despite its abandonment, which he discovers after inheriting an old dilapidated house, where he is able to see and record the broadcasts. And despite this series starting in October of 2016, a new episode was posted last in May of 2022.
Cool.
FNAF VHS.
Okay, Finance of Readies.
So this is another FNAF-inspired analog horror series, but this time it's not so much just inspired, but is rather an adaptation of the Five Nights at Freddy's story in the form of analog horror. The series
Yeah,
was first created by Squimpus McGrimpus in 2019, which is told through, you guessed it, a bunch of videotapes from Freddy Fazbear's.
makes
We
sense.
get a few instructional videos made for the workers showing how the animatronics work, including how to clean them as seen in the first video. However, each video has its own disturbing twist, and we can at first see the original Five Nights at Freddy's story kind of play out, as we see that the children have been stuffed inside the animatronic suits. And we also see that the puppet from FNAF 2 is actually the one transporting the souls of the victims into the suits, in order for them to possess the animatronics. If you've
Yeah,
played the games or watched any lore videos, you probably know the story by now, but I'll just give the basic rundown. The animatronics are haunted by children who were killed by a serial killer by the name of William Afton, aka the Purple Guy, and one of the co-founders of Freddy Fazbear's.
yep,
And there's a lot more that goes on here, but basically William himself ends up trapped in an animatronic Springlock suit as well, which is actually an early iteration of a Bonnie suit, which is later known as Springtrap. And he serves as the main antagonist of the series, and is also the father of the main protagonist of the games, Michael Afton. And in
yep,
this analog series, we see how the souls of the dead children, along with Michael's dead brother, who Michael himself accidentally killed in the Bite of 83, attempt to persuade Michael to kill William Afton, who is still possessing the Springlock Bonnie suit. There was also a remake of the series created by Baddington in 2021, who created another series we're going to talk about in this video, but the
okay.
remake has since been cancelled.
Okay,
Ghostwatch. Now, this one, Ghostwatch, is actually a film, one of the first of its kind, as it predates even the Blair Witch Project, which is said to be one of the biggest inspirations for analog horror today. This
I
film,
see.
first broadcast on Halloween of 1992 on the BBC network, was a 91-minute found footage style documentary film that centered around the investigation of a house supposedly haunted by a poltergeist in London. However, interestingly, the film was presented as a live television broadcast of the investigation. And at first, the crew that's present don't really take the haunting of the house seriously, but
Huh.
over time they start to find out that the ghost, nicknamed Pipes, is all too real, at least in the story. And this film was truly ahead of its time in many aspects, and inspired not only Blair Witch, but in a way, the analog horror we now watch today.
Interesting.
Harmony and horror.
Oh?
This is that other series that I mentioned that was created by Baddington, who worked on the FNAF VHS remake. And
Oh
similarly to
no.
Squimpus's FNAF VHS, this series is also inspired by Five Nights at Freddy's. However, instead of
1985.
haunted and possessed animatronics, we have dolls. Although it follows a kind of similar story to FNAF, where we have a crazy serial killer character, this time named Martin, who is a toy maker who kills his entire family,
Oh,
including his wife, kids, brother, and their dog, who then all begin to possess toys. And this series is really well made, with a lot of great 3D work.
that's terrifying.
Max Headroom Hijacking.
Wait.
Now, many of you probably know about this, but this was actually a real incident that happened. One that occurred on November 22nd, 1987,
Yeah, I know
where two
about that.
television stations located in Chicago were hijacked by still unidentified perpetrators. The first intrusion happened on a sports segment and only lasted for about 28 seconds before it was cut off. In the
Yeah.
video, we can see someone wearing a Max Headroom mask on camera, while a loud buzzing sound can be heard before it cuts to black. But that same night, another station was hijacked by the same perpetrators. This time, the man in the Max Headroom mask can be heard speaking.
Oh no. What the fuck? Okay.
Now, these two hijackings are no doubt very creepy, and not only has no one involved been identified, but no one has really claimed responsibility either, despite the statute of
Yeah.
limitations on this crime being surpassed all the way back in 1992. Although there have been theories made on who could have done it, with some pointing to possibly disgruntled employees of the stations, or even an underground hacking community located in or around Chicago, Illinois. Definitely one
Maybe.
of the most interesting ongoing mysteries today, at least when it comes to strange media.
So how is this related to Unlock Horror? Is there a series based on it?
September 1999.
Okay.
This one is also not a series, and it's not even a video, but a video game. One you can play right now for free on Steam, and it's honestly really cool. Basically, through a first person found footage view, you record a VHS tape dated September 1999 while walking around a house.
Yeah.
And let me just say, first of all, these graphics are insane. Visually, this game is truly something to behold. Through the lens of this camera, the game almost looks photorealistic. Anyways, the way the game works is the tape lasts for exactly 5 minutes and 30 seconds. That's how long you have to walk around, and you stay in the same location, in this house for that time. But the date changes as you play, revealing more and more dark secrets. And after the 5 minutes and 30 seconds are up, it
Yeah.
abruptly cuts to September 30th, with the camera on the ground, and the sound of a chainsaw revving in the background. And I really like the more subtle approach to this game. The horror comes from a feeling, a creepy tone and atmosphere that the game is able to portray here. No jump scares, just 5 minutes in 1999. Okay, I don't really know what that means, but it just sounded dramatic, so we'll leave it in the script.
Huh.
The Wyoming Incident.
Oh, I am aware of that one.
Originating from a creepypasta, this story in ARG is
Yeah.
truly a pioneer. Some regard it as one of the earliest, if not the first, creepypasta ever, and it's also considered the first horror-based internet ARG. Now,
Maybe.
the story is that during a broadcast on a Wyoming news station, there was a signal hijacking that took place, which played a disturbing video with ominous text and strange images. It was reported that this broadcast caused some of the local residents to have hallucinations and headaches after viewing. Now, the ARG aspect of this isn't really all that interesting in comparison. It essentially took shape in the form of an old message board called the Happy Cube. The
Yeah.
users talk about cubing, which I guess is the activity of hunting people down and killing them. So, yeah, a form for serial killers. And it really only gets more confusing from here, so I guess I'll leave it at that. WNUF Halloween Special.
What?
This is another film similar to Ghostwatch that could also be considered analog horror, as this 2013
Really?
film is presented as a true recording that took place on October 31st, 1987, for the TV station WNUF. And the
Okay.
film follows a TV reporter named Frank Stewart, who, along with four other people, investigate a haunted house, where a man and wife were murdered by their son due to him being commanded by a demon summoned from a Ouija board. In the beginning,
Uh-oh.
they are skeptical, just like in Ghostwatch, and similarly, they are proven wrong. However, this film definitely isn't as scary. I mean, it's actually considered a comedy horror film, so there's that. It's not really meant to seem like a genuine recording, but is rather a love letter to VHS and public access television, as stated by the director.
I thought I thought you were gonna this person was gonna say and they die. Okay, more shit.
EAS scenarios.
NAF music.
This stands for Emergency Alert.
I mean, yeah, show the list of music, but gotta be honest, I completely forgot what the music was. You know, I think I'm gonna slow it down.
Systems. Basically, those things that play when
We interrupt this program for a civil threat emergency. At this time, do not answer your door for anyone, even if they appear to.
Oh, oh my god. Oh, I'll probably get you
You
later.
want to play games and listen to music and browse the web all.
Yeah, those. Anyways, this is more of an idea and a subgenre than one series or video, and there's a lot of EAS style analog horror projects on YouTube. There are quite a few notable channels that do a lot of interesting scenarios, such
Yeah,
as Alert World, as well as EACES, which is the channel that this entry is linked to on the Iceberg. This channel is particularly good in this subgenre because these videos are really in depth and really go pretty deep into these scenarios.
I see. Venta Black.
Great choice. This one is another film. This time, though, it's a short film created by Robin Komisar in 2017.
I
And this
see.
project is actually kind of hard to find. I mean, there's trailers on YouTube, and it looks like it premiered at multiple film festivals, but I
Maybe.
couldn't really find the actual film, which sucks because the premise sounds really interesting. Basically, according to the synopsis, the film revolves around a woman who is seemingly stuck inside of a Red Lobster commercial. Sounds
Oh,
interesting, right? And according to some of the reviews and comments I saw, the film was actually really good. So hopefully someday I can find a copy of it. Okay, so quick update. I actually did watch the film. A couple of people sent it over to me, shout out to you guys, and yeah, it's pretty sick actually. Unfortunately, I can't actually show it because uploads of it keep getting taken down, but the premise is like how I described it, but seeing it is just really cool. You get to see the commercial play out once normally, and
yeah.
then it starts to replay over and over and really starts to break down. before it abruptly cuts to being live action, where the waiter starts to actually torture the woman in the commercial to get her to say her line, which then prompts her to try to escape from this hellish nightmare by cutting out the waiter's tongue so he can't say his part. Really interesting concept and a cool short film. If you can find it, definitely check it out.
Interesting.
Jack Thatcher, 2003. Another rather short one, this time just a simple 1-minute video. And since it's so short, I'll just play it here.
Oh no. What the hell is going on? Oh no.
Yeah, so pretty interesting concept for a piece of analog horror, with the whole, I guess, fourth wall breaking aspect. But is there anything else to this besides this video, made presumably in 2019? Well, not really from what I could find. All I know is that many people were sent this video on Discord, telling them to
Yeah.
wake up, like in the video. And I guess it was kind of a mini ARG, although it didn't really go anywhere beyond this. Maple County.
Oh.
Yet another piece of gaming analog horror, but interestingly this time it's actually inspired by the Mandela Catalog, created by Alex Kister, which we talked about in part 1. Now besides that, Maple County is just an interesting case overall. On the creator Thorn Baker's website, this page can be found, which gives the download link to the game.
I
And the
see.
game itself is shown through an interactive VHS training tape from the Maple County Police Department, in which through a series of tests you learn about a certain threat, creatures similar to the alternates featured in the Mandela Catalog. And you actually learn how to identify these creatures, and later on you can even walk around and experience the horrors for yourself. And this game is really well made. I know I say that a lot
Yeah.
about most of the stuff we've talked about so far, but this one really is great, even if it is very short.
I see.
Monument Mythos.
Oh, Monument Mythos.
Honestly, I'm surprised this one is all the way down here at tier 3, because this series is huge, and I'm sure most analog horror fans already know about it. But for those unfamiliar, Monument Mythos is a series created by Mr. Manticore, and takes place in an alternate timeline in America where James Dean became president. But the big thing about this timeline and story is that the national monuments around America all hold some sort of dark secret, which is a really interesting concept for a horror story, to be honest. Basically, these monuments are actually Lovecraftian beings called TFMDs, or True Forces of Mass Destruction. And some of them, including the Statue of Liberty, are actually used by the US government to get rid of people by feeding them to these TFMDs. There's even an alternate version of the 2021 Suez Canal obstruction. Remember that ship that blocked it for like a week? Well, in this universe, apparently the President of the United States, Hillary Clinton, dropped a nuke which then released the Suez Canal crab creature, with people casually tweeting about it on this timeline's Twitter. Really interesting stuff. And this series has a ton more to it than that in terms of timelines of events and general lore. I mean, Windigoon did a 3-hour analysis video of this series, which is pretty wild. So if you think this sounds interesting or worth your time investment, check it out.
Wait.
Gilbert Garfield.
What?
Now, this one is a relatively new series, one that revolves around a strange tape made in the late 80s of a collab between Garfield and Gilbert Gottfried, the comedian and actor known for his unique voice. And to be honest, some of these are kind of funny. Not sure if it's intentional or not, but shout out to the voice actor. He really sounds like Gilbert Gottfried. And credit where it's due, it does get more creepy as the series continues, and it's definitely still ongoing, so make sure to check this one out. Really great.
Okay.
Knock plus 10. So Knock plus 10 is more of an ARG than it is really a standard analog horror series, but it still definitely contains some of those elements. Although this came out before the genre was even popularized, way back in 2015.
I
Now,
see.
Naught Plus 10 revolves around a few videos which are comprised mostly of codes, as well as other bits and pieces of the story. But what's really going on here? Well, from what I can gather, the story is about an underwater base called Research Station Nocturne that was conducting research about artificial intelligence. However, at some point, the station was flooded, killing the researchers and leaving one of the
Of
AIs on its
course.
own.
Why
And
wouldn't
this
it?
AI also assimilates the dead bodies in the research station, taking them on as a part of them. And it seems that this AI is the one sending out these videos as a sort of distress signal, as we can
Oh,
see in the videos that it desperately wants its existence to be ended.
okay. I was gonna make a mimic joke, but I can't now.
Skycorp home video. Now, surprisingly, this series, I guess, is a good break from the horror, as this channel has mostly satirical analog comedy content, with gems such
Oh,
as these.
what the
Both of
fuck?
these videos are meant to be from a media corporation called Skycorp Home Video, but most are just comedic parody skits. They're pretty great, though.
Hi there, I'm Paul Perkinstein, and welcome to the wide world of web. Today's segment, online dating. Hello. My, oh my, you are gorgeous. I can't wait to get my dick wet.
What the fuck? Well, I'm gonna.
Super Mario 64 Classified.
Okay, Mario.
Now, this is a pretty great video game related analog horror series, especially for fans of Mario 64. This series was created by Greenio, and it focuses on strange occurrences within a certain copy of Mario 64 that is recorded using grainy looking VHS footage, hence why it's on this iceberg. Anyways, it
Yeah.
tackles a lot of the infamous Mario 64 phenomena, such as the Wario apparition, which was done really well here. And I did a whole video discussing Mario 64 myths and conspiracies. Go check it out if you haven't yet, by the way. But yeah,
No.
this series is really well done, and it explores a lot more aspects of the game, such as the backwards long jumping glitch, textureless Mario, yellow switch, and even the old beta builds.
I'm gonna watch. Okay, I think I may give this a watch later.
Amazon doesn't want you to see this.
Watch this. I can show you how to get the sweetest deals.
I don't care.
The Blue Channel. Now, while you might not have known that this was actually a series, I'm guessing quite a few of you have still heard about it, or at least seen this initial video, Blue Channel Thalison, which I think was one of
I
the
haven't.
first pieces of analog horror I ever watched on YouTube. And it's a really interesting and well-made concept for a piece of analog horror, in that it is about a fictional drug called Thalison, which can cause some, well, let's say interesting emotions you've never heard of. Now, some of these are pretty creepy, but when I first saw this face, I'm not gonna lie, I was dying laughing. I'm sorry, I don't know what's wrong with me. Still, a great video.
I don't
And
know.
there's actually 2 more videos in this series created by Gooseworks, both which actually came well before the Thalison video. However, these 2 are really basic in comparison, and
Gooseworks.
mostly just show the Blue Channel logo, along with some unsettling music and text. Until...
Oh. Hello. No, I didn't.
the Chimpy Chippa tapes. This is a 7-part analog horror series created by Spring Talk Pictures, themed around a family restaurant called Chimpy Chippa's, starring an animatronic monkey of the same name. Although what makes this series unique and stand out from the many others like it is that the animatronics in this series are actually real. Well, okay,
Oh.
not actually real, but they are actual physical puppets, making it easily the most realistic looking animatronics we've seen in analog horror, because they're not just 3D renders or models. Also interestingly, in this series, we are watching through the perspective of someone else viewing the tapes on their computer, and Chimpy Chippa actually sees the person watching through the videos, which I thought was really interesting, and reminded me of that movie Sinister. The series also goes through many perspective shifts and unexpected turns, including changing to straight up live action for sections. Really well made and pretty short series,
Interesting.
so check it out if it sounds interesting to you and you haven't seen it yet. The Rootside Conspiracy. So this is, I guess, kind of a sequel/reboot of a series called The Heartwind Archives, which was created by the Mister on YouTube, at least as far as I know, because the original Heartwind Archives were taken down, but have since been re-uploaded to YouTube. As for the new reboot of the series,
I
it's
see.
also about the Heartwind Association, basically a sort of secret society disguised as a global corporation, who actually partnered with world governments such as America and Canada, as well as even the Illuminati, which was actually co-founded by the founder of the Heartwind Association, Eugene Hartwin, who also happens to be alive during multiple points throughout world history. He's
Oh.
actually a sort of black figure with one eye that can transform into a human. And also, yeah, weird crab guy becomes president.
Oh
And
no.
while I was making this video, I'm pretty sure the last episode of this series just dropped, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Scrimblow Catalog.
Okay, you know what? If I ever watch these sort of stuff, I guess I'm probably gonna either be super scared or probably laugh because of the name. The Scrimble catalog. I'm sorry, I probably won't be able to take that seriously. I'm sorry.
Alright, we got another pretty funny one. So, this is another analog horror parody, this time created by Alex Kister, and, well, just see for yourself.
Okay. Oh. Okay, you know that makes sense. Imposters? Question mark. My face. Music using Dreams video. Oh. Actually, that's kind of spooky, I guess.
That's right, this absolute madman took a random tweet and actually made it into a video. And guess what? There's another one.
Oh? Okay.
Now I'm just here waiting for part 3. Tri-Red Witness Archives. Now, this is a pretty short series so far, but still, a new video was posted only 3 weeks ago, and
I
the videos
see.
themselves focus on a foundation called the TCMPAP, or the Tri-Red County Missing Persons Action Program,
Oh.
which looks into the strange disappearances of children. And what's pretty interesting about this series is it takes place in the present day, unlike a lot of other analog horror projects, because of, well, it being on analog media, VHS, what have
Yeah.
you. But this one actually has interviews and such dated in 2022, not far from when the actual video is uploaded, and that's pretty interesting. And since the newest video, it's become like a full-on ARG, which is cool. Entire website and everything.
ARG. That's interesting.
TMK/Kirby.exe.
Okay, we made it to it. We made it past halfway with the video before .exe was mentioned. Yay! Everyone loves .exe.
Created by Maple Riot in March of 2022, this relatively new analog horror series focuses on the Kirby video games, specifically Kirby Superstar, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with.
Yes.
But the title of this project, TMK, is even more interesting, because this is actually a reference to a goofy Kirby commercial from the 90s, in which kids were brought into a hospital because of a sickness called TMK, or Too Much Kirby, which caused
Makes
them
sense.
to, well, look like this. And in the actual series, we can see a being infecting copies of the game Kirby Superstar with a virus, causing all these strange glitches we see in the video. Also,
Yeah.
seemingly it's transmitting this strange illness known as TMK, which is portrayed as a much more dangerous and serious thing in this series. And that old commercial was actually a promotion of the game, but in-universe it's actually more of a PSA to warn people about TMK. A pretty
Yeah.
interesting way of using real-life advertisements for these videos.
Tier 4.
Channel 7.
7.
Yet another series created by Aiden Chick. This time it's his first tried analog horror. And yeah, it was
Oh.
apparently a part of the same universe as his other projects at some point, but he has since said that Channel 7 is no longer canon. Basically, in regards to the story, it's one of those series centered around a TV channel, this time called
Okay.
Channel 7, which seemingly keeps getting hijacked and occasionally shows some unnerving content. And there's a lot of similarities here with Local 58, including a similar video to Contingency, this time called Invasion, where, like the title suggests,
Interesting.
America is once again under attack.
Oh. Channel 7. I'll take a look at that later.
Corner Folk Lore. Created by the same guy that made Monument Mythos, we have Corner Folk Lore by Alex Kansas, also known as Mr. Manticore. What is
No.
this series about? Well, the first video honestly explains it best.
Many dimensions intersect with their own, several of which are 2D
Heh.
planes. When two or more planes intersect, they form corners. Entities
Yeah.
in the intersecting planes cannot perceive each other. They exist separately, in their own worlds. However, the corner folk can pass these boundaries and enter other planes. The corner folk are a trans-dimensional species. They are the only ones who can traverse the corners shaped by planes. Coincidentally, I believe that the corners of my own home align with several planes, for I've seen the corner folk in action, crossing the corners from one reality to another.
Interesting.
So yeah, basically these beings known as corner folk are invading the home of a man named Riley Tillin, and he begins to document his experiences with the beings, as well as delves deeper into the corner folk and corner world. But the next video, titled Corner Girl, makes it even more confusing, as it even kind of breaks the fourth wall here, mentioning the creator himself, Alex Kansas. On top of that, it also appears to be somewhat connected to the Monument Mythos series.
Oh. Okay. You really need to get like an ad blocker.
CRT Anomalies.
That sounds bad.
Once again, we have another series focusing on strange events showcased through VHS recordings. In the first episode, we see strange
Yes, that's
security
on
cam
all
footage
core.
from a community watch. Then in episode 2, we get to hear the disturbing sounds of a plane crash. But in episode 3, in my opinion, it gets a lot more interesting. And we see a tape based on the MK Ultra program, which of course is something I'm sure you've all heard about. Then there's
Yeah.
another one where someone is being chased by something, although we can't see what it actually is. And the last one shows a strange Christian version of Sesame Street. Yeah, I'm not too sure what all this means, although the tapes are labeled with dates, with the uploads being out of order. Sweet Dreams Neurocast.
Oh.
I gotta say, I really like this one. I'm a big fan of these kind of one-off analog horror videos. Sometimes it just feels more unsettling and mysterious when there isn't so much lore and backstory to unpack, and you're really just left to think about what you witnessed. That's what I like
Yeah.
about this one. Not to mention, really well made overall. Honestly, I'm
What
surprised
the
this doesn't
fuck?
have more views. The video itself is a commercial for a product called the Neurocast, which claims to help people with insomnia sleep and dream easier. Emphasis on the dream part. But then we get a recall notice for the product due to, well, this entity. Crystal View Records.
Okay.
Alright, so this is a bit of a lesser known series created by MacG. Although it does contain only 2 videos, it does have some interesting moments. In the first episode, Fast Food Infomercial, we see just that, an infomercial for fast food located in Bradford Falls, Colorado. We see some
Yeah.
stuff on the menu with some strange footage spliced in, and we also get this.
Disturbing. Yeah, let's go with that.
In episode 2, we get Science Class Safety, where some other strange messages and other things appear. And I think this series does have potential,
Yeah.
although the creator has said it's currently on hiatus.
Oof. That gotta suck.
Eventide Media Center. This is Aiden Chick's newest
Okay.
venture into analog horror, Eventide Media Center. And this series showcases tapes from a library
Okay, I
located in
think it's
Eventide
still
Valley. We
recording.
can see throughout these tapes that something strange is going on in the area. For example, in the second episode, Ocean View Forecast, we see a weather report detailing a severe and ominous storm
Oh
warning,
no.
where you can notice something about it isn't quite right. And the series from here gets more and more bizarre as you begin to uncover the secrets of Eventide Valley. From the impossible shape architecture to strange one-eyed worm creatures. This series has got
Oof.
some weird but really cool world building. Because of that, this is probably my favorite of all Aiden Chick's projects thus far. Green Mountain Broadcast Center. Created by Pocket Painter, this short 2-episode series is about a video archive center located in Montpelier, Vermont. In the first video, we
I
see a
see.
tape found at the home of an unnamed person who went missing in the summer of 1993, who also happened to be a former filmmaker at the broadcast center. This first video is pretty basic and just serves as an introduction to the series, as it tells
Yeah.
us that this tape is part of a box set that archives and preserves the history of Vermont. In episode 2, Live Traffic in 1994, we get some live traffic reports from the area, and this episode
Yeah.
surprisingly is really good. It's actually decently long and gives the viewer enough time to settle into the comfortable vibes of this broadcast, before the more subtly unsettling parts begin to happen. I just wish there were more than only 2 videos.
You see.
Group 864 Training Program. Taking a step back for a minute from the analog horror anthologies, we have another video game. This time Group 864 Training Program, which is a game
Okay.
in which you are being trained as a new recruit for something very similar to the SCP Foundation. And in the game, we see that this tape was meant for those in rank 3, aka death row inmates who are going to be subject to testing, as they investigate strange anomalies and creatures. Again, very similar to the SCP Foundation and D-Class personnel. Basically though, you just go through a series of tests and questions about what rank 3s will have to deal with during time working for Group 864.
Yeah. Probably, I guess. I don't know. Never played a game.
Midwest Angelica.
Oh no.
Alright, so this right here is a criminally underrated analog horror series. focusing on a strange, eldritch, and otherworldly cosmic threat known simply as AZ-001. And just the way
Okay.
this whole thing is put together is great. Some of the best visuals I've seen in any analog horror project, and especially for a channel of this size, it's really something. They only have 4 videos on their channel as of now, but it's a pretty new series, so hopefully we'll see some more from it in the future.
Maybe.
Michigan, Report from Hell.
Oh.
And here we have another video game, but this one is actually a very old one, released all the way back in 2004. This Japanese survival horror game made for the PS2 was actually never released in North America, and only saw a release outside of Japan in the EU and Australia in 2005. It's among these other analog horror projects because you take the role of a cameraman working for a TV station called Zaka TV, and in the
I
game you are
see.
tasked with investigating a strange mist that is affecting a city, which strangely isn't located in the state of Michigan as you might think. Apparently this actually takes place in Chicago, Illinois, and the game's title is based around the mist phenomena. This game is also notable for having
Huh.
some of the best voice acting ever as well. Take a look.
Poor guy. It's all over for him. God, it's a shame when a coworker dies.
Hmm.
No matter who it is. But I guess we better be going.
Besides that, the game is also first person and has you looking through the lens of a camera during gameplay. So I guess kind of the OG Outlast. And essentially you have to interact with the environment and investigate with your team before you run out of film. And despite it being jank as hell,
Makes
I kind of get
sense.
those so bad it's good vibes from it, honestly. Needle Mouse.
Oh, I watched some of that, to be honest.
Alright, so Needle Mouse is a really interesting case in my opinion, as it's kind of an adaptation of the infamously bad creepypasta Sonic.exe, although this time told
Yeah.
through VHS tapes in the form of analog horror. And this series is actually good, despite its source material. Anyway, this series actually showcases VHS recordings of a Sonic the Hedgehog game where something is possessing Sonic, a person, who's been trapped in the game for over 30 years after their death. And couple that with
Yeah.
some pretty interesting and unsettling screens, as well as some great editing, and you have yourself a much better version of Sonic.exe, if that's even really saying much. Socroft Records. This is
Heh.
another lesser-known series, one with only 3 episodes as of making this video. In the first tape, we see a video on plants and how to grow them, and everything is normal until about 5 minutes in, where we see a
Of
strange
course.
message saying to dig a 7 feet deep hole, sow the seeds of birth, and welcome what's to come. In the next episode, we get another analog TV channel with some missing persons shown, spliced together with some strange footage of a forest, before the broadcast is interrupted by an alert of the area not being safe. And in the last video, we get an instructional school lockdown video, in which we are given even more references to this seemingly alien threat we see in all the videos. And I gotta
Makes
say, these
sense.
are pretty well made, especially the last one. And they are also more subtle in terms of horror, but I think that usually can be a good thing. Although it does come off as a tad generic, but that could just be me going through so many similar analog horror series in such a short amount of time. The Smile Tapes.
Oh no.
I'm not really sure why this is down here in tier 4 because this one is pretty popular. But anyway, the Smile Tapes created by Pato Riku in 2021 are a series of analog horror videos that feature an interesting story about a drug called Smile. This drug causes mania, laughter, violent tendencies, and the disturbing smiling which the drug got its name from. And the substance itself is made of spores from an unidentified species of fungus.
Honestly, the only other instance of me thinking of anything smile drugs is the Super Mario 64 blooper video, so yeah, this removed any horror this series could have had for me. If I do watch it.
As described in episode 1. The drug also causes rapid aging and death of those who use it. And not only is this a really interesting idea and finally not something to do with aliens or Lovecraftian beings, but it's also just a really well-made series with great visuals and overall editing. Check this one out if you haven't already.
Okay. Yay, products I don't care for.
Winter of 83.
The Bite of 83, The Winter of 83, The Bite of 87, The MCI of 85, The Dead Kids of 87. Okay, look, I get Unlock Horror is supposed to be stuff from the 80s and 90s, but my god.
So So this analog horror series was surprisingly created by Louis Lovehaug, aka Linkara, and all 15 segments of the series were released on the same date, April 1st, 2022. So was
Oh.
it an April Fool's joke? I don't really know, but what I do know is that the series revolves around a town called Fawn Circle in Minnesota, in which during the winter of '83, all the residents of the town vanished. And what follows is an investigation into various recordings and occurrences in order to find out what really happened in the winter of '83.
Okay.
Employee Tapes Archive.
Yay.
As described in the about description of this channel, this less-known series focuses on, quote, various tapes given to employees of local businesses in Flagstaff throughout the late 70s and early 80s.
Okay.
As of now, there are only 5 episodes, most of which are pretty short. In the first one, we see a video about a recalled water product and how to correctly dispose of it. Nothing too out of the ordinary here, except for some of these kind of strange symptoms. Next, we have an instructional tape on how to deal with a disease called neuronosis, which is contracted
Okay.
by drinking contaminated water, which I guess relates to that first video on the recalled product. It seems kind of normal until you get to stage 3, where essentially you're and the tape says to take the patient to a supply closet and inject them with cyanide. And stage 4, well, shoot them with a shotgun, of course. And we later find out that this disease is
Okay.
actually turning people into so-called root men after drinking the contaminated water, which gives them plant DNA. Kind of strange, but nonetheless a pretty interesting concept for analog horror. Solar tapes.
Okay.
Solar Tapes, as the name suggests, is a series focusing on space exploration through the lens of analog horror. This, of course, is done through VHS tapes. The first one we see looks at the Voyager space probes, which are real things, by the way, sent to space to take pictures. But we see in the first episode, something isn't right, as it shows that Voyager 1's camera is shut off, but continues to send pictures. In the second episode, we get an unsettling PSA about taking care of the environment, themed around sending garbage into space. And in episode 3, we see the origin of Earth and its history, as well as learn about a strange dark secret hidden within. And there are
Yeah.
10 episodes total for the series, all which have some sort of message or theme based around space and climate change issues, which is quite refreshing for this type of storytelling.
Yeah, at least it's not on Earth. That'll give points for originality.
Somnium Dream Viewer. This is a 9-episode analog horror series, which is best represented in its overview episode. Take a look.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so what goes wrong? Other than that one moment.
So yeah, this product created by Somnium Microtechnologies allows the user to record their dream data through images, which, as you can probably guess,
I
can
see.
lead to some pretty weird and creepy stuff, especially when it's done through analog horror-style videotapes. And there's more going on here with the story. It even has a very interesting interpretation of the FBI in this universe, known as the FBMI, or Federal Bureau of Metaphysical Intelligence, for seemingly investigating this dream device, with them even trying to acquire this technology for themselves from the founder. And I'm pretty sure this series is still ongoing,
Interesting.
so check it out. It's really interesting.
No, it's not. It does sound
Rockwell
interesting.
Forest. This is a pretty obscure analog horror series focusing on our main character running the Rockwell Forest channel, who uploads various strange VHS tapes he found at a garage sale. What follows are many videos, including seemingly old cartoon clips, found footage, body cam footage, and even just straight up live action segments of the main character through his investigations of the tapes and the dark secrets that lie within them. Station 33 TV. Yet another pretty obscure analog horror series. This time we have Station 33 TV. At first, we see that the channel is themed around a 1930s era aesthetic, before shifting to a completely different one in the next episode, even stating that it was established only in 1975, which is also the year of a mysterious and cryptic tragic event, as shown in the video Station 33 1975. Then we get the audio from 2 broadcast interruptions and other strange things in an Unsolved Cases video. These are really well made, especially for a channel of this size, and it definitely deserves more attention. And luckily, after being inactive for a while, it seems the creator is back. So if you're interested, look forward to hopefully more content on this project.
Hopefully. I guess. The heart.
Hartwin Archives.
Okay.
So yeah, I referenced this earlier as the work of the Mister on YouTube, who has since clarified that the Rootside Conspiracy was actually one of his canceled projects before he rebooted the Hartwin Archives, which was another canceled series. That being the original, because we already of course discussed the remake. Okay, that might have been confusing, but yeah, hopefully that made some sense. For the original Hartwin Archives, like I said earlier, there are re-uploads, but the story is a bit different, although it still
Yeah.
prominently focuses on the character Eugene Hartwin throughout history. The Minerva Alliance. Now, this one has quite a lot of videos, mostly relating to recovered footage and audio recordings. And the series premise is described in the About section of the channel. Quote, the
I
Minerva Alliance
see.
is a non-profit activist organization committed to spreading awareness of anomalous activity in our world and in your communities. Please consider following this channel, as it might have vital information that can help you take measures to defend yourself and your family and friends from anomalous threats that may occur in your area. Thank you in advance for your consideration, and stay safe. So yeah, the videos you see on this channel are said to contain evidence of this anomalous activity, and are distributed by the Minerva Alliance. One of these recordings is a, quote, unusual ad council PSA dated 6/3/1998, and it describes a very strange parasitic organism, which is described in detail as well in the description, which also gives even more background info as to how the tape was found and so on.
Well, it's not
There's quite a lot
aliens.
here, and definitely a lot of work went into all the lore found throughout these videos. TV67 WOPX TV. So we've got another TV channel analog horror series. This time it focuses on Channel 67,
Oh, two more
which
numbers.
has served
Two
Southern
more.
Tarrant County and Hundiac County for 32 years. In the first episode, Severe Weather, we see a classic EAS interruption on the broadcast, followed by some disturbing recorded
Interesting.
audio and disconcerting messages, telling you to ignore the laughter of children. In the next video, we get another strange and creepy broadcast interruption, also seemingly related to this, quote, storm, and we get two more well-made videos on this phenomenon, which is explained a lot more in depth in the Animal Report, which is actually the last official video of the series. As sadly, the creator released a video titled I'm Sorry, where they basically stated that they lost interest in the project and were done making videos for it. However, on April 18th, 2022, a short clip was uploaded that has given fans hope that the series will return, although no new uploads have come out since then.
Yeah. That gotta suck.
Uncovered Analog. As the name suggests, this series focuses on uncovered pieces of analog media, which, as you might have guessed by now, all contain some strange or unnerving content, most of which showcase an ominous figure. And there are a lot of these, over 30 videos in this playlist. But yeah, not too much else to say here, other than the fact that they are pretty well made, even if the creator has kind of dismissed this series.
Oof.
The Tangy Virus.
Thank you.
One of many analog horror series created by Vintage 8 on YouTube, the Tangy Virus is one of the most interesting in my opinion, as it focuses on the strange disease which is spreading around the town of Kate's Crossing, Louisiana through the water, whether you drink it or just swim in it, I guess. And the virus carries these strange parasites that make their way into the host's brain and control them, and compel those infected to further spread the illness. And we see this all play out through a series of videotapes, with reports, messages from the local government, and even found footage.
Interesting.
Assessment Examination.
Yeah.
Finally, we've got another game, this one being very similar to Maple County. Really, I'm not sure why this is all the way down here. I mean, Markiplier played this game, so it's gotten a decent amount of attention. Essentially, this game is another test for someone applying for a position at the Authenticity Assessment Department. It starts out normal enough, asking how you heard about this position, if you have any professional experience, but then it gets a little weird, asking if you fear death, God, or losing your loved ones. You have to identify threats from a series of images, and there's quite a few more choices, as well as different endings. So if you liked Maple County, give this one a shot.
Maybe not.
Pizza Parlor Lost Tapes, Party Fun. And we've got another game here, and this one is a little less known. It mainly consists of a series of arcade-style minigames, similar to something you'd find in the FNAF games. Basically, you walk around the pizzeria, and you can play these minigames. One where you catch pizzas, and if you mess up 5 times, you lose. Another which is just red light, green light. And another one which is like an old Atari game where you just have to collect like 5 pieces of corn. And there's even a computer terminal which you can access that has tapes that explain the story. As this was a series and ARG that was adapted into this game, which is stated upon booting it up. Definitely inspired by FNAF and the Walden Files, but yeah, this game is pretty interesting. I'm surprised no one's really talked about it yet, at least that I've seen.
Michael, Dad, oh no. Wait, happy birthday. Is that game Mike Victim AU? Game quality lower by association. Okay, the final one.
Little Red's Transfer.
Little Red Riding Hood.
Created by Quota Films, this analog horror series focuses on, well, let me just read the description of the first video. Quote, "You will never understand how hard it is to come up with a description for a discovery that's so vague in its existence, so out of place yet so fitting, and radiates fiction belief, but here it is, in physical form resting within a computer disk case.
I see.
I would love to try to explain this at this moment, but no lie has been told. I don't know. I come to you all for an answer, some type of closure for what all this could mean. This unfinished transfer of Little Red's animatronic employee tape was hidden within a far
Animatronic.
studio.
Okay, so we
It
have
feels like
another
every time I
FNAF
stare at it,
inspired
like it's
one.
something that shouldn't be in my possession. I apologize if this curse follows through to you all as well. That is, if anyone sees this. Please contact me if possible and help me decode this." Yeah, it's a little dramatic, but it gives the gist of the story. And throughout these tapes, we see this creepy animatronic called Little Red, and the disturbing backstory behind it. As well as, yeah, some of this audio.
Oh.
Sorry, all jokes aside, this series is pretty underrated, and a lot of effort was definitely put into this quite long series. Perusia Public Library.
Okay.
Now, this is a pretty interesting and obscure one. Parousia Public Library. Hope I'm even pronouncing that right. Anyway, it's interesting because most of these videos are in the form of PowerPoint-like presentations that also happen to contain some analog horror elements, such as VHS videos. And they are actually pretty unnerving, mostly because of how cryptic the story is, as well as that classic found footage atmosphere and that creepy religious imagery. I'm not
I
sure really what's
see.
going on with this one, but there's something going on in regards to these entities known as scouts or scout angels.
Interesting, I suppose.
The Oracle Project.
Why so many of these have project archives?
And now we have yet another series created by Vintage 8, and actually a sequel to the Tengu virus, which goes further into the whole threat to humanity by also introducing the Oracle, which is an
I
AI
see.
supercomputer attempting to save humanity from extinction. Kind of reminds me of 343 Guilty Spark from Halo a little bit. Although the Oracle also does want to remove human free will in order to protect them.
Oh.
Pretty cool sequel series, mostly told through dialogue from the AI, as well as text narration of the events of the story.
Wait, as in the character AI or do I AI voice or chat GPT?
Phobos.
Phobos. Okay, that's a funny name.
This is a lesser known yet pretty expansive series featuring even its own soundtrack. And I guess the best way to explain it would be that the series revolves around fears as the main focus. And there are quite a
Makes
few
sense.
analog horror-like videos in this series, such as with the first introduction video, but it kind of becomes like an ARG, as it asks for audience involvement in answering a survey about their fears. Although the series even further develops and changes, until we get the finale in quotes, because there are still videos being posted on the channel. And the finale is basically just a 20-minute live-action short film.
That's interesting. Phobos. I might watch this.
The Campbell Reels.
Reels. Okay, something different.
This is another obscure series created by
Oh.
Coca-Cola on YouTube. Throughout the videos, we learn about a company called Campbell Fair Fun, which opened sometime in 1965 or 1966. We see various advertisements of the company, which contain some, well, strange images. And we also meet the cast of mascots for this brand. And clearly, yeah, something is not right here. Now, I think my brain is melting from all this analog horror, because, yeah, some of this is creepy. Like this part where a song is actually played backwards. I didn't really expect the reverse audio. But then there was this.
Oh god, that's a goofy image.
And I don't know, this just killed me. Still, there was a lot of effort put in here, and there are parts that are actually pretty creepy.
Yeah, that's a rude.
Warding 12 Television.
Television, okay. A unique one. Or at least
Alright, so we've got yet another
unique
two-page
title.
one, but this one has only like one video, at least one that's called Warding 12 TV. There's another short 45-second video that briefly shows a monster that could be related to the original story. But what is this about? Well, this one video has everything. An emergency alert, some strange and cryptic horror, home video footage, some standard TV Weather Channel stuff, a driving segment. I mean, you all know the drill by now.
Yeah.
Tellurium Household Appliances and Equipment.
Okay. Specific.
I thought this was a pretty cool analog horror series. While it doesn't reinvent the wheel or anything, it's still pretty great, and definitely deserves more attention than it's gotten. The channel About section states, quote, "Any and all videos uploaded are produced by or are owned by the Tellurium Household Appliances and Equipment Company. All Tellurium Household Appliances and Equipment Company produced films have been archived by multiple news outlets, independent film collectors, and or former employees."
Sounds
And throughout the
interesting.
videos, we can see various advertisements, training tapes, and broadcasts from the company that have been manipulated in some creepy way. Also, it appears the company uses some strange material known as filtium, which is a highly toxic substance, and presumably the Tellurium company is utilizing this dangerous material, causing some undesirable side effects.
I mean, it's toxic, so I imagine.
British Home Entertainment.
Okay. Fake.
Okay, Okay, so on the lighter side of things, we have another parody channel. This time, one parodying the popular series Gemini Home Entertainment. And there's even a Mandela catalog parody in here as well. The best part is that they're pretty well made. I wouldn't be surprised if
Oh.
people actually came across this and thought it was a real series. But yeah, not too much else to say here. Untitled 2008.
Okay, that's also fake.
And for the last one on our list, we have Untitled 2008.
Wait, this is the
Another
last
video
one?
game, and a pretty obscure one at that. Anyways, for the actual game, well, it's basically a FNAF game. And bruh, I'm so bad at this game. And let me tell you, it doesn't seem hard, and it's probably not, but for some reason I just suck. But basically, I think the way it works is you have to check the window for this dude who kills you if you don't put on a mask in time to hide. Which, surprisingly, I mean, if he does kill you, it's not a jump scare, he just, like, mumbles at you in reverse audio. Then this dude, I think you just have to flick to the window and he goes away. But this guy in the closet, I don't know what to do. I think you just have to put on the mask, but for some reason my controls just don't work. I can't seem to, like, put on the mask in time, he just insta-kills me. I'm probably just doing it wrong, but yeah. And if you're wondering how this is analog horror, yeah, I was too. It says on the page where you download the game, quote, you find a tape labeled Untitled with a scratched up sticker. You shouldn't have played that tape.
Interesting lore?
And that was it for this iceberg created by Metallic Statues. All 6 tiers of it, along with some bonus entries I threw in. And I hope you were able to find some new series you haven't heard about, or learn about some series that intrigued you, but most of all, I hope I was able to spotlight some more obscure series for creators that really put in a lot of time and passion into these projects.
Yeah,
Anyway,
okay.
just thank you all for watching, stay tuned for more content like this, and I will see you all with the next video. Peace.
Alright. Oh, so I have seen this YouTuber before. I remember seeing this video here. Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm even subscribed to this guy. Oh. I completely forgot I even subscribed to this person. Okay, this was me last year. I forgot. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. See ya.